We see a man named Christopher who says that he is tired of special effects and bad actors with fake emotions, and he wants to change that. Then we see a man named Truman who is talking to himself in the mirror. His wife named Meryl says that he is late for work, so Truman gets out of the house to go on his way to his job. He says good morning to his neighbors, and the neighbor's dog comes up to Truman and startles him. He is about to step into his car when something falls from the sky. It is a television light, and Truman goes up to it. He looks in the sky but doesn't see anything. In the car to work, he hears on a radio that an airplane was shedding parts, so that's probably what fell on his street. Truman parked the car somewhere, and he gets a newspaper for himself and a fashion magazine for his wife. He is walking to work and meets two friendly men who push him a little bit to the wall for no apparent reason. They finish talking, and Truman gets to work. He is on the phone and is calling the directory assistants of Fiji to find a woman named Sylvia. His boss wants to talk to him, but Truman says that he is talking with a customer on the phone and continues trying to find the woman. Unfortunately for him, there is nobody named Sylvia in Fiji. He takes the fashion magazine and rips the eyes of some women out. His boss comes up to him again and has a task for him on a small island near where he lives. We see him getting a ticket for the ferry, and when he is walking on the dock, he sees a small boat filled with water. He panics and gets out of there. Truman is home and is gardening when his wife comes home with the groceries, and she overly explains a new kitchen tool she bought for him. In the evening, Truman is talking with his best friend Marlon, and Truman says that he wants to get out of the city and quit his job. Marlon says that he needs to be happy with what he got, and he should not leave. Truman wants to go to Fiji and shows his friend where its geographical location is. An hour later, Truman is on the beach and has a flashback of him and his father named Brian. They are sailing and his father says that the weather is bad and they need to go back to land. Truman wants to go a bit further, but when they do that, it begins to storm and his father drowns. In the real world, it starts to rain too, but only where Truman is sitting. He tries to run from the rain, but it is raining everywhere now. He gets home and says to his wife that he wants to take the money they saved and go to Fiji. The wife thinks that is a stupid idea, because she wants a baby with him, and they should save the money for that. The next day, Truman buys a newspaper and a fashion magazine again. He is walking to work when he sees someone that looks exactly like his dad. Some strangers arrive and take the man with them. Truman wants to follow them, but a group of runners blocks his way. They drag him into a bus, and Truman loses sight of them. Truman gets to his mother and tells her the story. She tries to play it off and says that he is just sad that Brian is gone. Truman is in the basement and sees an old sweater of a girl named Sylvia. He gets a flashback of her, and we see that he is really in love. He comes up to her in the library and asks her out. They go to the beach, and the girl is freaking out for no apparent reason. She says that everything is fake, and that Truman shouldn't believe the world around him. Then her father comes and says that she has schizophrenia, so Truman shouldn't worry about the strange things Sylvia says. The father also says that they will be moving to Fiji, and that is the last thing Truman saw from her. He takes all the ripped out eyes from the fashion magazines and tries to recreate a photo of Sylvia. The next day, Truman is in the car and the radio malfunctions. He hears someone saying the exact moves that he is making. This time, Truman doesn't take a newspaper and goes straight to his job. He goes in the door, but instantly leaves. He is observing everyone and almost gets hit by a bus, but the driver has an inhuman-like reaction time and stops just in front of him. Truman runs to a random building and wants to take the elevator. The door opens and he sees some kind of backstage area for actors. He gets escorted out of the building by security guards, and he thinks it is very weird. He gets to the supermarket and goes to his friend Marlon. Truman explains that weird things are happening, but Marlon says that he is busy. Truman still explains the story and says that he is being followed and that it has something to do with his father. He gets home and is looking at his wedding photos with his mother and his wife. When they are gone, he sees that his wife was crossing her fingers when he was not looking. In the morning, he wants to talk to her, but she says that she is needed at her hospital job and goes away. He follows her and gets to the hospital. The hospital staff says that she is in pre-op and she can't talk, so Truman leaves a message and says that he is going to Fiji. He gets to the place where he can book a flight to Fiji, but there is no room on the airplane. Then he gets to the bus station and gets on a bus, but the bus is broken, so they need to get out. Truman is home and is sitting in his car when his wife gets in. Truman tells her exactly what will be going to happen, because according to him, people are riding in a loop around their block. He wants to get out of the city and is driving, when suddenly a lot of cars block the road. He pretends to go away, but he takes the roundabout back to the same street. But this time, the whole street is empty. Truman is in front of the bridge that brings you out of town, but he is scared to drive on it because he doesn't want to fall into the water and die just like his father. He closes his eyes and makes his wife drive. A board says that there is a forest fire, but Truman goes straight through the fire, and he is safe. He drives until he gets stopped by the police because there is a leak at the nuclear power plant. Truman thanks him for his service, and the officer says, "No problem, Truman." Truman never told him his name, so he thinks that is suspicious. He gets out of the car and tries to go on foot, but he gets chased by all the nuclear power staff, and they catch him eventually. The police bring him to his home and say that the radiation could have killed him, and that he is lucky to be alive. After this, Truman asks Meryl why she wants a baby with him, because she clearly can't stand him. He walks towards her and asks what's going on. She takes a knife and says that Truman is scaring her. He takes the knife from her, and Earl screams, "Do something." Now he knows something is going on for sure. The door opens, and it is his best friend, Marlon. Truman talks with him, and he says that he thinks that the whole world is made for him. Marlon says that if the whole world is made up for Truman, Marlon would be in on it too, and he would never lie to him. While this is happening, we see that Christopher is saying exactly what Marlon needs to say. Marlon has brought a surprise for him, and it is his dad, who everyone thought had drowned. Christopher controls all the cameras, and they zoom in on Truman. We see that everyone who is watching the show is very touched by the real emotions of Truman. In the real world, there is an advertisement on the TV for the Truman Show. A big company made a massive building where Truman is being broadcasted. The normal life starts again, and Truman does his normal routine. He is sleeping in the basement, and Christopher thinks that is weird. He hears him snoring, but still thinks something is not right, so he sends Marlon to check on Truman. Marlon is in the house but can't find him. He opens a closet and sees a secret tunnel going to the outside. Christopher stops the show for the first time in 10,913 days, and everyone is shocked. All the actors are trying to find him, but he is gone. Christopher lets the sun come up, so it is lighter, and they can find him better. The only place where they haven't looked is the sea because Truman is scared of water. Christopher checks on the sea cameras and sees Truman on a boat. He wants to stop him from reaching the real world and makes it storm, so Truman will turn back to land. Truman still goes forward and falls into the water, but lucky for him, he can get back on the boat. Christopher increases the wind and will make him capsize. Truman is about to die, so Christopher stops the storm. Truman goes further on his journey to go to the real world and reaches the outside wall. He gets on a staircase, and Truman talks with Christopher for the first time. Truman asks if there was something real in his life, and Christopher says that the only thing real was him, but that's why everyone liked to watch the show. Truman is hesitant to leave because he will lose the life he has, but he still does it and gets out. Sylvia was watching the television, and she puts on her jacket to meet Truman after a long time again. Thank you for watching the movie The Truman Show with us. If you liked it, subscribe.